He is with us right now. Steve, thank you so very much for being with us. So first of all, I'm still thinking back to what we just saw, and I'm not sure if you were able to see it. That very split ticket with
interesting
with Spencer Pratt and Hobbs. I mean,
Katie Porter.
Yeah, or Katie Porter. Yeah. What do you make of that type of split there?
Well, I think the most important words that we heard in Liz's report were those words: people want change. That's exactly right. Now, some people will want change in a particular ideological direction. I think that person you spoke to there obviously wants some better management in Los Angeles and a change of direction politically in California. But I don't know what Katie Porter represents in that sense. She's not really in contention now. Really, the choice in the governor's race is basically more of the same with Javier Becerra, even further in the same ideological direction we've been going with Tom Steyer, or real change with me. And the thing that I always point to, I know people look at this race and they say, how can a Republican possibly win? It's California. You're never going to get a Republican. The thing I look at is a recent poll, not about the candidates, but about how people feel in California, showed that there's a majority, 56%. Think the state's going in the wrong direction. And that's why I think that if I make it through this primary, which I'm confident I will, and it's a straight choice between me and either Becerra or Tom Steyer, people will vote for change because we obviously need it in California.
Policy-wise, what do you make of Spencer Pratt's, the policies that he has put forward in terms of mandatory treatment and the homeless situation here in Los Angeles?
Well, I completely agree with that. Actually, I published my homelessness plan for the state about a year or so ago, and it's very similar. And it starts with just recognizing that these homeless encampments are illegal. They've always been illegal. And it's not just that they're illegal, they're also completely cruel. If we would never accept someone we loved living in those conditions for so long. And so I don't know why we've come to accept it for people we don't know. And so it starts with acknowledging that you're never going to get people better, whether they're suffering from mental health problems or drug or alcohol addiction or some combination of those things. Whatever it is, it's not going to be fixed if you're on the streets. So that's the starting point. And I agree with Spencer about that. And in fact, my plan is to say to local leaders across the state, I'm going to give you a certain amount of time. And if you haven't cleaned up these homeless encampments and got people off the streets into something constructive, then I will use state law enforcement resources to do it, because we can't go on like this. It's really unacceptable.
There's a big difference between campaigning on it and then also making things happen once you're elected. If you are elected, I mean, you and Spencer Pratt have a lot in common in that if you are elected, he's going to City Hall, maybe, you're going to Sacramento, maybe. Both of those places seem to be hostile territory for a Republican.
Well, it's certainly true that the thing we have in common is that we're both outsiders, explicitly running to shake up a system, whether that's here in LA or statewide, that just obviously isn't working. I mean, you look at we've had 16 years of Democrats running everything in Sacramento, and the results are just really disappointing. We've got the highest poverty rate in the country, the highest unemployment rate, the highest cost of living by far. The education results are among the worst in the country, even though we spend nearly the most, and so on. Every single area of policy is really not doing well. The difference between myself and Spencer is our experience, actually. Most of my career has been in business. As you heard from Liz, I did have a period sitting in the chair where you are as a host on TV. But I've also had experience in government, working as senior advisor to the UK Prime Minister. And I saw how hard it is to make change happen, actually, and the attitude you need to have to get things through a really kind of entrenched bureaucracy. I learned a lot from that, and I think I'm well prepared to make the changes we need in California.
A lot of people are going to be tuning in, and they're going to be like, wait a minute, this accent. It's a British accent. We have had a governor here in California with an accent before. He was also a Republican, and he came in with some ideas, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then he found himself facing a majority in Sacramento. Right now, there's a supermajority there, right? So if you are sitting in the governor's mansion trying to pass legislation through a very hostile legislature, how do you do that?
Well, I think there's two parts to it. First of all, there's a lot you can get done directly through the executive branch. Many of the things that we're seeing, the barriers to building housing, the cost of construction, the cost of energy in California, the fact that our electric bills are more than double the national average, that our gas prices are the highest in the country. So many of the decisions that lead to that are actually not from the legislature. They're from decisions made and rules made in the administrative agencies controlled by the governor. So on day one, because I've been well prepared, I've been working on this, we've got the policies and the plans and even the people that we're going to put into these agencies. We can start, for example, opening up energy production in California to bring gas prices down, increasing supplies of water to our farmers in the Central Valley and so on. All these things that we can do directly through the executive branch. Not everything, but there's a lot. When it comes to legislation, I've actually got experience at working across party lines. The Prime Minister I worked for was a Conservative Prime Minister, David Cameron, but it was a coalition government. It was two parties, the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats. I actually shared an office in 10 Downing Street right next to the Cabinet Room with my opposite number from another party. We argued a lot, but we also understood how to make things happen. And so I think that, one last thing I'd say about that is, I think that there's an understanding right across the board, even among Democrats, that we've got to make some changes. For example, the first part of my tax plan is your first 100 grand tax-free, no state income tax. Katie Porter, in the governor's race, she adopted that as her tax plan and said, I'm taking Steve Hilton's plan because I think it makes sense. It shows you that actually there is room for some cooperation. Not on everything, but I'm certain with a fresh attitude and some energy, we can get things done.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes tomorrow. Really appreciate it.
Great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.